Hello, Mr. Ives here, reporting from an improvised studio in my basement. I'm drawing down here because there are really bright lights. But I did leave some of my camera equipment, tripod equipment at school, so as you can see, I've had to improvise. I've got a few boards rigged up to hold the camera, and if they don't fall down, yes, then we are ready to draw. Well, actually, I want to take a second and set up today's topic because it is a hot debate in the art community. Art teachers have been infamously tough on anime and manga style art, rejecting it and even failing students who refuse to draw in other styles. Now, there may be a few good reasons for this. For example, if you only draw anime style art, you're going to miss out on other basic art skills like color mixing, painting, composition. But it's also true that some students use the anime style as a crutch, a formula, and refuse to get outside of their comfort zone. But to be fair, you could accuse art teachers of doing the same thing when they refuse to accept anime as a legitimate art style. And it certainly is. Anime and manga style artists have proved their skill time and time again, and also the enduring popularity of the style has proved that it's much more than just a fad. In fact, anime, or more accurately, manga style art has been around since the 12th century. That's the 1100s. And it began in Japan with these comics and manuscripts. Many of these comics were drawn by an artist named Hokusai. Hokusai is most famous for drawing The Wave. It wasn't until the 1950s when manga became anime, when the manga-style drawings were animated into cartoons, the first one being Astro Boy. As cartoons like Astro Boy rose in popularity, anime began having an influence on the art world outside of Japan. Cartoons like Speed Racer and Dragon Ball Z were drawn in Japan by Japanese artists and then dubbed over with American voices and watched by American children on TV. Now, before we go any further, I have to admit that I did not grow up drawing anime-style characters. I grew up drawing more funky-style cartoon characters influenced by American cartoons like The Simpsons, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy, that kind of stuff. But I have tried, and it was pretty embarrassing. Roll the tape. And there you have a little anime karate style character dude there. All right, now it's your all's turn to break out your pencils and give these three character styles a shot. Yikes. But today, I'm out for redemption. I've done some research, I've done some practice, and I think I've figured out the basic steps to drawing a decent anime or manga style face. Let's give it a go. And shout out to White from White Manga. I found his YouTube video on basic manga faces very helpful, so if you're into this style of artwork, go check his channel out. So let's break it down. We got this. First step is to draw a light circle. And it's okay to draw several circles, that way it's actually a circle. Then you come down with two inwards facing diagonal lines. Those lines represent the upper part of the jaw. Find the middle point and go from that middle point and create two flatter diagonal lines that create the bottom part of the jaw and the chin. This shield shape is the first step to any anime style face. Slice the shield in half vertically and slice it in half horizontally. Make sure that your horizontal line is actually the halfway mark of the entire shield, not just the halfway mark of the circle. Otherwise, the eyes will end up being too high. Start your ear right at that line, kind of making a diamond shape. Make sure that the ears are roughly the same height on either side and same length at the bottom. I found that one of the most important things in the manga style art was to kind of build your character using a lot of straight lines and not making that many curvy lines. The next step is the eyebrows. Right at the top of the ears, draw two slightly diagonal, slightly inwards leaning lines. Make sure they are as symmetrical as possible. Then make two little steeper marks on either side of those. There are many different styles of anime eyes, but most of them follow these simple rules. The top of the eyelid is slightly leaned in, just like the eyebrow, and it has the little steeper marks on either side. The bottom of the eyelid will be flat, with a line that angles up on the outside but doesn't quite connect with the top of the eyelid. If you use straight lines, let the top eyelid lean in and the bottom eyelid be flat, then you're going to end up with a nice manga style eye. For the actual eye itself, for the iris, you're going to draw a circle that is partially hidden by the upper part of the eyelid. Don't draw a full circle. Don't do it. It's going to mess it up. Put a nice dark dot in the middle. Draw a circle on one side of that pupil, and then shade the rest in. I thickened up the eyebrows a little bit, and the eyes are done. And you can breathe a huge sigh of relief once you get some decent looking eyes, because the nose and mouth are honestly going to be pretty easy. And maybe that's one reason art teachers take umbrage with anime, is you kind of get around learning how to draw a realistic nose and mouth, but it's also true that the manga nose and mouth do look pretty good. They work. Visually, it works. So why not do it? There are a few different nose styles that you can choose from, but they're all pretty simple, ranging from a couple dots for nostrils to a little bit more detailed. The one I went with here is just a vertical line that comes down, and your nose should end somewhere right around the bottom of that circle that you started with. Now, when I went to draw the mouth, I realized that I may have made the bottom of the face a bit too long, so I moved the chin up just a touch. Now, regardless of how long the face is, you want the mouth to be located right where the jaw changes angle. So starting right there, you can draw a mouth that could be anything ranging from just a simple little mark to the kind of smile with a slight frown on the edges and a little bit of shading under the lip, which is what I did. Putting hair on an anime character could be a whole lesson in and of itself, and it can be kind of intimidating and easy to mess up. But here's what I've learned. Put a mark halfway on the forehead, because that's where the hairline's going to be. And then before you start the traditional anime spikes, put a little starting point on kind of the side of the head, kind of the corner of the head. And that's going to be the kind of growth point. We're going to start from there, and we're going to angle to one side, and then stay with that angle all the way down that side of the head. Don't really let the direction of the spikes change up too much. In this case, they're all angling to the right. Now, at that point, you can change the direction. You can have them kind of stick straight up and then curve back down to the other side. And that'll give some type of pattern to your spikes. The final step is to draw the neck, starting just inside the edge of that jawbone, kind of angling a little bit in, and then curving into a sloping shoulder. Few marks, kind of a V shape for the throat, a couple of marks for the collarbone, and this guy's done. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Hit the hair with a little bit of hat shading, and that will give it a more finished look. Now I wanted to try a female character too, which follows most of the same rules. There's just a few differences. Start with a circle, just like we did with the other one. Now, one of the big differences is the shape of the jaw. The angle of the upper jaw is going to angle in more than it does on the male face. And then the lower jaw is going to angle in even more too, to a nice sharp chin. Slice it in half both ways and add that kind of diamond-shaped ear. We're going to draw the eyebrow higher than we did on the male face, up above the ears, using a slight curved frown shape. The female eyelid shape is a mellow triangle that curves and gets a little thin on the inside, and then has kind of a sharp kind of little check mark on the outsides. The bottom eyelid starts pretty far down the face, almost at the bottom of the ear, and it's a little smiley shape that is not quite as long as the top eyelid, with little marks on the outsides that angle up towards the marks on the upper eyelid. The iris for this type of eye is going to be a big oval, and just like the iris on the other eye, the top of it and also a little bit of the bottom is cut off by the eyelid, so don't draw a complete oval. Once you have that nice oval shape, you're going to draw another oval for the pupil, and then another oval for the highlight, and then shade in. And you don't have to shade in this entire oval since it's a little bit bigger. You can kind of fade and let the bottom of the eye be white. And again, we can relax because the hard part's over. Now we can put a little nose there. And again, there's a bunch of different ways to do noses. Could be a little sideways check mark. Could be a couple little nostril shapes. Could be as simple as a dot. Some artists leave the nose off altogether. For the mouth, I did what's called a broken line mouth, where the line's a little thicker on either end and it kind of almost disappears in the middle. Alright, the final challenge. Time to put hair on this face. I'm going to try to make some nice, curved, quick marks using that quick sketching style. And I'm going to let the hair curve in a little bit on the sides of the face. You could have a couple strands that come from the back that kind of sweep out and angle the opposite direction. Go around that circle that we drew to start with, make it just a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, so it looks like the hair is resting on top of the skull. And then once you've got your hair figured out, you can go back in and make some darker, bolder lines to kind of give a look of some shadows in the hair and some highlights. And then you can also fill it in with some of that diagonal hat shading. A feminine neck will typically be drawn more narrow, but not too narrow. You don't want it to look like a lollipop person. And then the shoulders will slope slightly, and that line will continue just past the ears, and then it will drop down for the edge of the shoulders. Alright, I think I got a little bit of redemption from the horrible anime that I drew a couple years ago. And I know that a lot of you all are skilled with this style. Cannot wait to see the drawings that you submit. And if you're not comfortable with this style, do like I did. Get out of your comfort zone and draw something new. All right, go draw. Bye now.